This meeting is being recorded.
There you go.
Okay, we're ready.
Okay, I think we're set to go. It's 6:01 on April 30th, 2026, and I'm opening the um, meeting of the Conservation Commission for the town of Deerfield this evening. This is being held in a hybrid Zoom fashion at the main meeting room in 8 Conway Street in South Deerfield. And the meeting will be held in a hybrid fashion with the opportunity for both in-person attendance and then remote participation. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast, unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for an in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. The meeting will be held in person at the main meeting room of Deerfield Municipal Offices in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A. Anyone intending to record the meeting must identify themselves to the clerk and provide their name and address for the record. And just to note, the clerk for the commission is Sean Libby, the commissioner here. So we will go ahead and call to order and start the meeting. The meeting guidelines are please speak one at a time, follow the Deerfield Code of Conduct, which is to be respectful, considerate, courteous, concise, and non-repetitive. For this meeting, I will add 2 additional guidelines. One, if you have questions, please direct them to myself as the chair, and I will distribute them appropriately. And any comments other than a presentation, please keep your comment period to 2 to 3 minutes or less would be greatly appreciated. So let's identify the commissioners present for this evening. I'm Pete Law, I'm here. Sean Libby.
Sean Libby here.
Kate Devlin.
Kate Devlin here.
Ben Burns. I don't see Ben there. Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds here.
All right, so we have for the 5 commissioners, we have the quorum. We can proceed. Great. First thing on the agenda then is to review the minutes from our meeting on April 13th. Those were included in your meeting packets. Has all the commissioners reviewed, and are there any questions or comments or revisions needed to the minutes as received? Seeing none, hearing none, I then would take a motion to accept the minutes of April 13, 2026 as submitted.
Kate Devlin, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of April 13th, 2026 as written.
Okay, do I have a second?
Sean Libby second.
All right, so the motion on the table to accept the minutes from April 13th, 2026. We'll do a quick roll call vote to accept as received. Sean Libby.
Sean Libby, aye.
Kate Devlin.
Kate Devlin, aye.
Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds, aye.
And Pete Law, aye. So the minutes have been approved as received. Thank you very much. Those can go into record. There's no new business this evening, so I'll move to old business, which is to reopen the hearing that was submitted by Mass DOT for 5 and 10 and Mill Village Rotary. It's a notice of intent filed by the Mass DOT District 2 for intersection improvements on Greenfield Road, routes 5 and 10 at Mill Village Road and North Main Street, Mass DOT project number 613708. And I think everybody has that information in their meeting packet. And so I would ask the applicant to give us an update for the continuation here.
Hi all, Robin Hunter representing MassDOT District 2. My apologies for not being able to attend in person today. I've been home taking care of a sick kiddo and didn't want to spread those germs around to y'all. So the update is on Friday, I provided a little bit of extra information that had been raised during either by DEP in their comments on the NOI and or during the last hearing. And basically the seed mix, and then answering a few of the questions, basically clarifying that all catch basins are either being abandoned or removed as part of all existing catch basins. So all catch basins within the project limits will have a 4-foot sump, and clarifying that the replication area will not be mowed and will have signage indicating that it's a protected wetland replication.
Great, thank you. And that was received on April 24th, and it's in the meeting packet. Every of the commissioners have had a chance to review. Okay. Any questions for Robin on this submittal that she updated us on? No, I do have a couple then. I always do. On the second part, the wetland replication area, they said that there would be 2 foot by 2 foot signs posted, labeled as protected replication area. 1 sign will be placed at each end of the replication boundary. Please let us know if you prefer a different wording on the signage. I'm fine with the wording. Any revisions from the commissioners? No, okay. So I think we can go ahead, Robin, with the wording as submitted on your email of the 24th.
Great, thank you.
I do have one question though on the signage.
Mhm.
This would be 2 of them, 1 placed at each end of the replication boundary. I'm assuming that is the southern end and the northern end.
We're happy to put them, whichever. That's what I was kind of envisioning, and that's just, standard language we've included on other replication areas. But if you have a preference, we can adjust that language to specify exactly, or we could show it on the plans,
Yeah, we want it on the plans. But one of the thoughts I had is because of the size of the replication area and so forth, would be to place would ask for 3 signs, if you will. 1 on the north, 1 on the south boundary, and 1 on the western boundary where you could see from the roadside.
Okay, that should be fine.
Okay. Any comments from the commissioners on that? Does that make sense? Okay. We talked about, and I think you're going to have maybe the stormwater management consultant on as well tonight. Is that?
Yes, Danielle Spacer is available if there's any specific questions. I believe she's on via Zoom right now, but I wasn't sure if the commission had any specific questions related to stormwater.
No, I do. I have one question. I was wondering who Danielle was there on the screen, so that's good to know. So you said in your number 5 of your email from the 24th, the stormwater management system operation and maintenance plan and long-term pollution prevention plan included as an appendix to the project stormwater report for details regarding maintenance of the stormwater system. And I apologize, I didn't go back to take a look at that this afternoon, but will there be routine reports submitted to the commission on the stormwater maintenance plan?
Hi, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
I was just going to say hi. This is Danielle Spicer. I apologize. I don't have my video on. I'm actually on a phone, but no. So typically, for post construction stormwater maintenance, there are not reports that would be submitted to the Conservation Commission. It would just follow Mass DOT typical maintenance requirements that they have outlined in their LTPPP.
Okay. So following typical, but then we would, if we
So that-
did that, we would have no way of verifying proper frequency of maintenance in ongoing upgrades or anything of that nature.
I mean, they would just follow their schedule that they've outlined in their maintenance agreement, but there are no reports that are issued from DOT to the Concom.
Can you tell me, and I'm just looking at the plan now and I'm going through it, can you tell me what section that would be in and how often and what that report would include?
What
Or
the
that maintenance would include, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, it's a closed drainage system, so they're going to be cleaning out the catch basins. I don't. Let me see if I think I just have the main report. I don't have the appendices, but the long-term pollution prevention plan is in Appendix E. It's so it's the operation maintenance plan as well as the long-term pollution prevention plan, and DOT would continue to clean those catch basins per their typical maintenance requirements. And I just don't have that right off the top of my head of what they're, how often they are cleaned.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now, just so I can make sure that I'm accurately representing. So if you give me a moment, I can look into it. But it is, as Danielle said, Appendix E of the stormwater report. So it's we basically inspect and maintain that, and it's described as at an interval that maintains the functionality of the catch basin. For example, the sump is less than 50% full of sediment. Catch basin inspections, including documentation of sediment accumulation and maintenance, will generally occur simultaneously and is typically recorded in the field using tablets by our maintenance staff and contractors. So we inspecting, inlets or catch basins, and then, looking for any damage to the catch basins if the overall condition, and the maintenance actions would be, clear and dispose of any trash, sediments, debris, and vegetation, repair or replace structural components or eroded areas, provide or rehabilitate erosion control at the outlet, regrade and replace channel materials, remove woody growth, treat invasive plants. So I'm trying to.
Yeah. And I guess why I asked that question, because in section 1.2, it states that the Mass DOT strive to achieve inspection and maintenance frequency of SCMs and catch basins. That's outlined in the Mass DEP's Stormwater Handbook. However, it's a challenge for Mass DOT as a statewide agency to meet the stated inspection and maintenance frequency set forth by Mass DEP. As a result, Mass DOT is in the process of developing a programmatic operations and maintenance plan, which will allow for the O&M of stormwater assets to be executed using a data-driven approach. This POMP will implement a performance-based inspection and maintenance program for SCMs and catch basins. Once implemented, the POMP will supersede this project-specific operations and maintenance plan. So that's where my confusion comes in, because it comes in like, okay, we can't tell you exactly what the frequencies are. It's a real challenge for us. We're going to get a new process in place. And once that process is in place, it's actually going to supersede what we may approve right here. Clear as mud to me, I'm sorry.
Understood. So the programmatic, the POMP, as they call it, is still in development and working on being finalized with Mass DEP and also federal EPA. So that is a work in progress. It is more focused on our more urbanized areas that MassDOT manages, where stormwater is. I mean, of course, stormwater is a concern in all our all our towns and municipalities, but particularly focused on areas with very high levels of impervious surface. That is, to my knowledge, still being finalized. But we are doing more, clear tracking of which catch basins are being cleaned and when and inspected through our maintenance department. But I'm not as intimately involved with when exactly these particular catch basins would be cleaned. So I understand that it is somewhat confusing with this potentially being superseded with a more programmatic approach. But basically, we do maintain our catch basins and drainage systems to the best of our ability with limited staffing and funds.
Okay. Any other comments from the commissioners?
With this being a state job, do we have oversight to say, no, we don't like that?
Yeah, and what I was going to say is probably be.
And to what end, really? But I'm just asking.
I think we can potentially put in that requirement for a minimum of an annual report on operation and maintenance of every catch basin and other things that's outlined in the stormwater management report to be submitted to the Conservation Commission. Oh, I'm sorry, our Conservation Agent Tim Coles has a comment.
Here in section 1.2 of the Stormwater Management System Operation and Maintenance Plan, it says inspections and maintenance are recorded by personnel using handheld tablets in the field to document sediment accumulation, maintenance action performed, and follow-up actions needed. Data is recorded in MassDOT's asset management system, which is accessible in the field mobile office or the desktop, the office. The table below summarizes data that is generally collected for each asset type. And then it goes on to say inspection and maintenance records can be made available using the asset management system through request with the MassDOT District 2 environmental engineer. So is that kind of what you're looking for, Pete?
Yeah.
Inspection and maintenance records?
Yes.
Okay.
And
so it sounds like
we don't have access to that website or that platform. So it's up to the applicant to provide that to us.
So it sounds like that can be made available?
Yes, that's my understanding. And would that be on an ongoing condition, and would it be limited to the project limits?
It'd be an ongoing condition per the project conditions that we would approve.
Okay.
But that would be the responsibility of you all, the applicant, to submit that to us on the frequency that we would determine, probably an annual basis. Because I highly doubt that we'd have any access to your programs to do that ourselves, and it's really not on the owners of us to monitor your maintenance program. So that would be, so if it's available that way, I think, Tim, that's, reading through that's probably a good thing. And Robin, if you think that's fine, that's great.
Yeah, I think that will, I think that'll be feasible.
Because that earlier paragraph was just kind of all over the place. Great. So that was the only question I had. Anything else from the commissioners? Hey, also in your email from the 24th, you note that Mass DOT will also be providing a formal letter to Deerfield regarding the abutters driveway, but unfortunately do not think it will be ready prior to the deadline for the next hearing. Any updates there? And which abutter is that? Is that on the southern side and the northern side?
It's my understanding that the letter will be about the driveway that's on the northwest side of the project. And I don't have any updates, unfortunately. We've had some folks out sick.
The northwest side. Is that across the street?
So the driveway that is, across the street from the driveway that is to the north of Mill Village Road, on Route 5 and 10,
So this is the access and
or the access point
driveway, I
to
call it
cover.
access point, that was never approved by the commission, which is on your property. Not sure the abutter property behind it, the lot, I'm not sure. You're gonna have to deal with them. This is the where the driveway access area was put in is on Mass DOT property. It was put in without any knowledge of the Conservation Commission at the point, any approval at that point. It was also brought to the attention of the DEP, which determined in 2 superseding actions that this was a wetland area. Also think following that, there was clear cutting of the trees in that area, which the Mass DOT went after whoever clear cutted that to replace that and put a fine of $30,000 or $50,000 or something against that. So this is an area that's on your property that we addressed, that we talked about at the last hearing, which I didn't see in any response. So I didn't know what that referred to. But this was an area that we really want to have be addressed. And it could be, reconstitution of the wetlands area. We talked about gatage, we talked about signage, we talked about addressing any future work in that area. But that is, something that I was kind of surprised that it wasn't talked about in your response, because I believe we brought that up as an action that we really wanted to see addressed while we were doing this work in that area, because there was an improper, what would I say, an improper utilization of the wetlands for that access area.
So,
Amy?
but that access was installed by the landowner behind without DOT permission, was it not? Am I remembering that correctly, or is it? DOT access?
I was on the commission then. From what I understand, it was somewhat of a verbal interaction to allow that. It was never brought to the attention of the town. So that is beyond, anything that we approved. And so we would certainly like that to be addressed in that area. And certainly, getting back to your email, you're waiting for information from the abutters driveway. So that would mean we're waiting as well, right? So we'd have to look at a potential continuation here.
Understood. Yeah, I've requested that letter be prepared as quickly as possible, and it's just taking longer than anticipated.
Right. Well, appreciate that. Any other comments from the commissioners?
I have a question about the wetland replication area, if you're done with that
Mhm.
topic you were on. I'm curious if there is a plan or a procedure for ensuring that the wetland replication area actually sort of is sustained in the long term. If there's some kind of an ongoing maintenance plan or a budget for ensuring that, like 3 years down the line, that replication area is in fact a functioning wetland and doesn't get replaced with invasives or some other kind of ecosystem.
So we typically, after the wetlands installed, we typically have a 2-year monitoring period to make sure that, for one, the vegetation's establishing, that there haven't been any, invasive species brought in with any of the compost or anything like that. If there are, they're treated as part of that contract. And we make sure, that we have good survivorship of the planting so that that it's developing wetland species, that it has, at least 75% cover by native species per the regs, and that it develops wetland hydrology, so that we are seeing that it does have an appropriate hydrology to maintain wetland function in the long term. We don't, after that, once we've established that, yes, it is supporting wetland vegetation, it is supporting wetland hydrology. Sometimes the soils, do take longer to develop, those particular hydric indicators in the soils. So that might take longer, but if we feel confident that the hydrology is present, then we generally feel confident that will continue on in the future functioning as a wetland. We don't typically have like a long-term, beyond those 2 years plan, but we would, it would be, if the commission's aware of a problem with it, we can try and address it to the best of our ability. But usually if within those 2 years it's developed into a wetland, we don't typically see additional issues outside of that.
Great, thank you. So I guess my follow-up question would be, let's say 5 years down the line, there is an issue that becomes apparent. Is there a system or a process by which we could get in touch with Mass DOT and have a remedy for the situation?
Yeah, I think it would I haven't had this come up on anything yet, but I think it would basically just be reaching out to MassDOT District 2, either to me in the environmental department, or for some reason you can't get a hold, say it's 15 years down the line and I'm not there anymore. You could just reach out to District 2 headquarters and they can put you in touch with the right folks. And then we can typically, find a solution, either through our maintenance staff or something like that. So.
Great, thank you.
I think that is a good question, and generally, almost always in the replication area, we will put in our order of conditions that there's a minimum of 75% growth after a 2-year period, 2 growing season period, not a calendar, but a 2 growing season period, and that would be required, and it would be also in that requirement would include a report from wetland specialists to report on the growth and the mixture and such in that area. And down the line, yeah, we can reach out to Mass DOT Region 2, and if needed, we can utilize different, activities to make sure it goes. But we've seen in the past, and it's a good question because if you look at the literature, I think it's only about 30% of the replication areas actually work. And so we're trying to strive to make sure we get a higher percentage here in town. And excuse me, my allergies are fighting back here. But did everybody read the wetland seed mix that they proposed for the replication area? Any questions on that? Excuse me again. Allergy season. Hmm. Yeah.
One thing that's in the standard conditions that the commission could consider conditioning is more permanent, be it boulders or something around the outside of the replication area as a physical barrier to mowing, for example, for long-term.
Okay. Versus the signage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on how long the signage lasts, it might be good to have
More
something
permanent. Yeah.
something more permanent, just something to consider.
Yeah. Good point. Because that is in our kind of basic OOCs. Okay. Any other input from Robin or Danielle? Danielle, I'm sorry. The applicant. No. Any other input from the commissioners? Okay. I did have one input this afternoon that arrived at 4:41 p.m. and sorry, it's not in your meeting packet. It was a email submitted by one of the Deerfield Select Board members. And Robin, we do have a policy at the commission of asking for new data to be submitted 96 hours prior to the meeting. But that policy can be overridden by the chair at his or her discretion. And I think it's important now to read this as part of the record this evening, so and this was shared with the commissioners and it could be shared across. But just reading this letter received this afternoon. Dear Conservation Commission members, as the notice of intent hearing continues on Thursday, May 30th, 2026, I wish to enter the following comments into the record. As former chair of the Deerfield Conservation Commission, I have great familiarity with the site. The proposed roundabout is on Route 5, North Main Street and Mill Village Road. The parcel of state-owned land at the northwest corner of Route 5, Mill Village Road intersection contains jurisdictional wetlands as determined in an SDA issued by the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. Parts of these wetlands were disturbed during the installation of a never completed access driveway that failed to comply with relevant wetlands regulations and permit requirements. This important wetland area serves as a storage area for rainwater during heavy downpours, helping to slow down the amount of upstream runoff flowing into the Bloody Brook, thus mitigating flooding in South Deerfield along North Main Street. This land is within the area of roadway to be altered to create the proposed roundabout. As part of the wetlands replication required for this project, this parcel should be listed in the Deerfield Conservation Commission's orders of conditions and included in the square footage to be replicated and restored. Respectfully, Tim Hilchey, Deerfield Select Board. We can get you a copy of that, but again, it was an outreach that we received just at 4:41 this afternoon. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. And I think that, I've already addressed the need for replication there, or at least some more permanent work to minimize any access to that wetlands area and to minimize any future work going through that wetlands on the property that you own there in the front.
Just a follow-up question. There was, and it would be great to receive that in writing, just so I can share that with other folks at DOT. But
we could send that along, right? Yep.
I'll take care of that as when I get a copy. I will forward it to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. if there was mention of replication, is that the commission's desire to have that? I mean, I understand there's a long history on this access point.
I think we have to determine specifics, whether it's a replication or a restoration. Because there would be different definitions within the WPA. So we'll have to get back to you on specifically what that request may be from the commission. I was just reading verbatim the letter. But I think I mentioned earlier in my notes the wetland restoration. So, but yeah, but it has to be defined within the act.
And just to understand, and I again would need to discuss internally with other MassDOT folks and convey those comments to my superiors. But if for some reason it's not feasible for MassDOT to address that as part of this project, is there potential for, we have a replication area for impacts related to this project? Is there any possibility of addressing the potential impacts related to the access point there?
Within the replication area?
Yes.
I think that would be, Tim, before I go ahead, you're up more in the regs.
So are you talking about replacement, basically replacing that wetlands that has been filled elsewhere?
Just asking the question of whether that's something of interest. I'm not able to comment whether we could do that or not at this point, but just whether that is something that would be of interest.
So Robin, just to clarify, so your thinking would be to switch the replication area from the east side where it's now proposed to the west side of Route 5 and 10 into that area, but using the same square footage area, the same type of thing?
I think so. My question, and I think in general, just to kind of back up big picture, MassDOT in general, I know this is our state highway layout, but considers this, Mass did not do the work. MassDOT did not do the work that resulted in the issues for this access point. But I'm just trying to understand and I don't know if this is possible on the MassDOT side, but if MassDOT were potentially able to account for those impacted areas within our replication area on the east side. And maybe that's what you're saying, and my apologies if I got turned around.
Yeah, I think I need some clarification on that and some details. But within that area where the access road is, there's a improperly installed culvert, which connects, which probably resulted in two different unconnected wetlands, but Mother Nature didn't have it the same way to begin with. So that should be removed, and there's probably fill in there and so forth. That's not a natural fill to the wetlands. And so it might be a bit more involved on that side. So we'd have to look at the details of what the switch of the replication areas would be.
So
yeah, I think the commission's always open to options to address different issues as long as it meets the regulations and it's good for the environment.
So it's my understanding that so MassDOT will be providing, as I said before, a letter to the town about that access point. But Yeah, I think I'll just leave it at that. But but yeah, it's helpful to hear the commission's perspective, and I appreciate everyone's patience.
Okay. Any other comments, commissioners? Kate? Any thoughts? Okay. No, I think we just, appreciate you, looking into that and coming back to us with some additional information of what can be done. And again, I'll say this was never brought even to the attention of the town or the Conservation Commission. Therefore, it never went through any type of approval process. It was reviewed by DEP. They put 2 superseding actions against it. And where that is located, coming off the road, is Mass DOT property. So that's kind of the basis, I think. So appreciate it. If there's not anything else, I think as we were waiting for this letter and for some additional information, we probably need to look at continuing the hearing. Oh, before we do that, I just had a thought. As this is getting more and more complicated, and we've done this in the past on numerous projects, would the commission feel more confident in the review by requiring a peer review of the plan and the information submitted so far? It's more everybody's confidence level. This one is, has a lot going on. I know we've done required peer reviews in the past. I'm just throwing that out there for thought.
I'll weigh in. I have faith in Mass DOT working with us to the best of their abilities. And I do not personally see a need for a peer review here. And I came after all of this. So looking at it with fresh eyes, I'm hopeful that we can do this without a peer review. I think it'll take long enough as it is.
Appreciate it. Kate?
I have two. I'm of mixed opinion, because of the issues we've had in the past. A peer review might help clarify things more, but it seems like the Mass DOT has a fairly good plan so far, and I look forward to seeing the letter. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Josh, any?
I guess being fairly new to this commission, I would need a little bit of explanation of what a peer review would be.
Okay. Well, I just thought of it, put it out there for considerations. I don't hear of any motion being submitted by the commission. I don't see any motion, so there's nothing to move on. But I would suggest to Robin that potentially, we're in the second month of the hearing, but potentially the commission might take a look at it depending on the submittals that we receive, because peer reviews certainly can assist the commission in determining paths forward. So as you understand, just wanted you to know, and it just came to my head, so I didn't want to throw it out there. Okay. Other than that, then I think we can take a motion to continue.
Sean Levy, I'll make a motion to continue the hearing notice of intent filed by Mass DOT District Number 2 for the intersection improvements at 5 and 10 Mill Village Rotary, known as Mass DOT project number 613708.
We need to give date and time. That would be our next meeting, 21st, I believe.
30th, I think.
To be held at the next meeting,
So
May 30th.
Yeah.
At 6 p.m.
May 30th is a Saturday.
So 21st is the third Thursday. I wouldn't mind 28th.
28th would be the
28th. Sorry,
Yeah.
Jen.
28th is what's on the town calendar. That's
Okay.
why I use 28th.
Okay, 28th then.
That's the fourth Thursday. So, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So I think everybody understood.
Do you
that.
want me to re-say that? I'm fine re-saying it. I'll make a motion to continue the hearing for the notice of intent filed by Mass DOT District Number 2 for the intersection improvements at 510 Mill Village Rotary, known as Mass DOT Project Number 613708, continued to May 28th at 6 p.m., the next available meeting.
Kate Devlin, I'll second.
Okay. Motion's on the table. Any further comments from the commissioners? If not, we'll take a quick roll call vote to accept the motion on the table. Sean Libby,
Sean Libby, aye.
Kate Devlin,
Kate Devlin, aye.
Josh Reynolds,
Josh Reynolds, aye.
Pete Law, aye. So that motion passed. So we'll continue the hearing to the 28th of May. And Robin, as much information you can give us before then, that'll hopefully help move things along. But I greatly appreciate all your input.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the commission's time. And just a question on procedure. I know motion to continue, but is it if we were able to provide sufficient information, do you anticipate that you would be able to issue an order at the next meeting?
Potentially.
Okay.
But we can't.
Yeah, I know you can't see the future, but just trying to understand.
Potentially, yes, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And I also just wanted to say thank you so much for everyone's rapid response on the two. I know that's later in your agenda, but the two emergency certifications that we had in the past month. So much appreciated.
Yeah, glad they worked out. All right. All right. Well, thanks much. Let me move on to the next agenda item, which is other business. First one is a Mass DOT emergency certificate for Route 5 Bloody Brook near Conway Street. This was let me see if I get this right. Yeah, this was a removal of a beaver dam in the area just up the street here that both Tim and I reviewed and I approved. So unless there's any other questions or comments from the commissioners, I would look to have a motion to ratify the emergency cert as submitted. That's in your packet.
I do have a question. Just considering the nature of beavers being that, if you remove a dam, it's likely that one will be rebuilt in the future. And I'm wondering if sort of maybe apart from this immediate fix, if DOT would be willing to look into something like a non-lethal flow device, like a beaver deceiver, something like that, which would promote flow through the culvert over a longer period of time, while also sort of enabling the beavers to sort of exist and without causing problems.
Am I allowed to comment? I wasn't sure.
We have a motion on the table. I think we have to rescind the motion or modify the motion, Amy.
I'm sorry, and what was the motion on the table?
To ratify, or did I request?
I-
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry. So then we can, okay. So we can proceed.
Mm-hmm.
So I can comment. So, okay. Sorry, this is a little hard to see. So we do use beaver deceivers in certain circumstances. We will often try and see if we So first case, remove the beaver dam debris, and sometimes they decide that this isn't their favorite place, that they'd rather move somewhere upstream or downstream. But if we're having recurrent problems at a location, then we will often consider a beaver deceiver, and we have used them throughout the district. And we work closely with a subcontract. I believe the company's named Beaver Solutions. So we've worked with them in different municipalities on various beaver options, beaver management options. So since this was a relatively small dam as far as beaver dams go, we figured, since it was also an emergency situation, address the immediate emergency, and then if it becomes a recurrent issue, then we would consider using something like a beaver deceiver. But I'm not aware of it being a recurrent issue at this particular location.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other comments from the commissioners? Otherwise, I would be open to a motion to ratify the emergency cert.
Sean Libby, I'll make a motion to ratify the emergency cert as presented.
Kate Devlin, I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to accept the emergency cert for Route 5 Bloody Brook near Conway Street. Any other comments from the commissioners? Here, none, see none. Take a quick roll call vote to accept the motion as is. Sean Libby.
Sean Libby, aye.
Kate Devlin.
Kate Devlin, aye.
Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds, aye.
Pete Law, aye. So that motion passes, and then we'll ratify that emergency cert. There's a second emergency cert submitted by Mass DOT for Lower Road, Sheldon Brook. This information's in your meeting packet. That was signed off by Kate Devlin. So if there's any comments, discussions about that particular situation, appeared to be pretty straightforward. That was a big sinkhole. Otherwise, I'd take a motion to accept or to ratify the emergency cert as submitted.
Sean Libby, I'll make a motion to ratify the emergency certification as written. The Lower Road, Children Road.
Anybody feel to second it?
Kate Devlin, I'll second.
Okay, so motion's on the table to accept the emergency cert as submitted. Take a quick, unless there's additional conversation, we'll take a quick roll call vote to accept. Seeing none, Sean Libby.
Sean Libby, aye.
Kate Devlin.
Kate Devlin, aye.
Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds, aye.
Pete Law, aye. So those two are ratified and can proceed with that. So Robert, I think we got you set there too.
All right, thanks so much.
All right, thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
You too now. Next item is the vote to authorize conservation agent as additional signatory. Just before I go to that one, I think I wanted to bring up, and I was talking to Amy about it earlier, that a number of months ago, we appointed Sean as a clerk of the commission. And we also were looking at appointing a co-chair for the commission. The co-chair can sign off on emergency certs and do a number of things. The co-chair that was nominated at that point, that was not present for that meeting, was Kate Devlin. And we never voted on that. And
That was rescinded the next meeting.
that was rescinded the next meeting? Okay, so it was rescinded. So I'd like to put out there, the commission does need, it would be very beneficial if the commission had a co-chair appointed. And so does anybody want to raise their hand? I can't, to become the co-chair.
The best I can do is nominate Josh Reynolds. I don't know what else I can say. I think that's Kate's answer as well. I don't want to speak for you.
Yeah, I don't have the time
And
to put any more time into the commission.
can
But
I
I
just, I
know,
mean, I think, and I'm not saying, Kate, that you should, either one of you, it's not a time requirement unless we choose to meet when Pete's not here and somebody would have to, and then you would just be acting as chair at the meeting. The only time I've ever found it necessary is in this particular situation when Pete was unreachable and we needed a signature on this emergency certificate. And that is time, but that, you know, it's only come up once in the 4 years that I've been here. So Josh, if you're willing.
And just to add on that, if I'm not around and it was a meeting, the co-chair could decide that we can't hold a meeting. We're going to
Yeah.
wait. So
Chair could just open the meeting,
open it,
say,
close it.
continue, you know, if Pete suddenly gets sick and
Yeah.
it's not a huge commitment and you can be coached. We can help you.
It's just something that
We
DEP
did.
asks us for to have it on file. Yeah.
We also ask for annual reports and they're like, well, we aren't well staffed, so we aren't either. I would only add to this that voting to authorize the conservation agent, which I'm very fortunate that we have, as an additional signatory, may only be temporary solution to a long-term problem, whereas we really probably need to have a commissioner be that. But the issue with this is, and why I'll never do it, is because if you get ill, sick, pass, decide to leave in a temper tantrum, right, the co-chair is next up. And I don't want to be at that point saying, I'm not going to be the chairperson. So I will not ever be the chairperson of this committee. As many years, I'll serve for decades, but I'll never be chairperson. So I don't
It goes
see
back
that-
to the select board at that
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
But anyways, I don't want to bring up a thing, but it became apparent on this enforcement action, and I have no problem with assigning a signatory authority to the conservation agent or enforcement actions itself. There's other things that probably should go through the commission, and you're correct, Sean, in my view, that yeah, it's kind of, it's not a long-term, or it's a Band-Aid approach to something that we need to, because the first thing out of Stinson was like, well, just have the co-chair sign it. And well,
Has there ever been a co-chair?
There really should be. We really should have a co-chair. I mean, I don't know what we had in the past, but we should have.
Sean and I were co-clerks. And so when you had Sean become the clerk, I was demoted. So from that position, and I'm perfectly happy to be a clerk, but I like Sean said, I don't want to be in charge. I just,
No, that's fine. And I'm not trying to force it on anyone.
I am the person that sits on the CPC committee. So I put a lot of extra time beyond this committee as a representative. So I'm out. So it's only Josh because he can't do it.
or Ben's not here. We could elect him.
I don't feel that I have enough perspective at this point to be able to make a commitment on that at this moment. So I would need some more time to consider that. And it's, it seems like if there hasn't been a co-chair for this long, it doesn't probably need to happen today.
Yeah, probably not today, but it was, I think the state, maybe the town brought it up a year or so ago that every committee should have this, that, and that in place. And we're like, oh.
Something happens to Pete, you can always step down. And I guess Pete, you said then it falls to the select board, so,
But yeah, we don't have to.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be decided tonight.
I mean, I am now thinking about it.
Is there,
but yeah.
is there a signatory position that's not a co-chair that could do that? Have we explored that?
Clerk?
The only ones that were brought up by Mark the other day was chair and co-chair, not a clerk. The clerk can do certain things, but I don't know the rules and regulations of the state that well, sorry.
When this situation with the emergency certificate came up, what Mark told me was the people who can sign instead of, in place of the co-chair are either the vice chair or the agent, but only if the agent has been approved as a signatory. So.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of where we're stuck, Sean. So with that, and I certainly understand Josh's position, like, hey, I just showed up. I was just first day on the job, guys.
Yeah.
But it's really not, over the top. But I think to cover that need for the time being, I would suggest that maybe we would look at a motion to authorize the conservation agent as an additional signatory specific only to enforcement certificate request. That covered, Amy, right? I believe so.
Yeah,
Are emergency certs considered enforcement? That
They're considered approval, but I don't think there would be an enforcement until they're ratified.
no, I think it would only be enforcement if somebody violated the terms of the emergency certificate. This is just, as we know, things come up. And what happens is just the chair can sign to get something started in an emergency, because obviously an emergency can't wait, 20 or 30 days. And then we ratify at the next meeting. But we do need, as we found out, we
Yeah.
do need to have someone if Pete is unavailable.
It could be for both things, both to put equipment, the big yellow equipment in the brook to fix a problem, and to do an enforcement, say, you have to stop verbally before we get.
But I'm not sure about the enforcement order action, because that's a different process. So there could be, I think within the emergency cert, it gives you the enforcement to oversee that certification, whereas an enforcement action is another process within the WPA. So that's why I would say, I would maybe say a signatory authority for enforcement order if the chair is unavailable to respond within a 24-hour period. Something of that nature. And would that work in the regulatory view, Amy, of the state? So we say signatory if the chair is not available within a 24-hour period to respond.
I don't know,
I don't either,
but at least it's something.
but at least this gives us a start. And otherwise, we come to you, Kate, anyways.
Pete, I'm just a little confused. I don't know if maybe you misspoke, because I thought we were talking about emergency certs and you said only for enforcement.
Oh, I'm sorry. If I misspoke, it's for emergency certifications.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so I am, to clarify, the approval for additional signatory authority for emergency certs if the chairman is not available within a 24-hour period from receipt of that request.
Sean Libby, I'll make a motion to authorize the conservation agent as an additional signatory for emergencies and for enforcement orders if the chair is unavailable within a 24-hour period.
Kate Devlin, I'll second that.
Okay, motion on the table. Any other discussion from the commissioners? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll take a roll call to accept the motion on the table. Sean Libby,
Sean Libby, aye.
Kate Devlin,
Kate Devlin, aye.
Josh Reynolds,
Josh Reynolds, aye.
Pete Law, aye. Okay. So you can put that in the record, Amy. That'd be fine.
Pete, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt when you had a motion on the table. just for clarification, is that when, for the conservation agent to be allowed to do that, is that any person who's in the role of the conservation agent? Okay, so it's to the title of the conservation agent.
Yep.
Perfect.
And that can be with any changes or whatever down the road, we can rescind, rechange it, whatever. But that's why we kind of left it open. Okay.
Can I just ask who's doing minutes? Is it Kate or Sean today?
Sean,
Okay, just, yeah, because I'm gonna have to ask Cassie to have that vote. I'm gonna have to get it recorded at the Registry of Deeds. So I just want to make sure it's in the minutes so Cassie can, clearly.
Okay. Emergency certs only. Yeah. Okay. Next item is the bundled NOI for the town of Deerfield. Been a lot of work back and forth on this, but it's been also in the last month a lot of not work going on with it. So I don't have any a lot of new information other than I sent some recommended changes to the BNOI, which try to clarify exactly what a culvert is, change some of the wording consulting to a party approved by the Conservation Commission, etc. I'm not sure this was in your meeting packet, so maybe we can get that out to everybody, Amy, the outline of my suggestions, and we can look at it at our next meeting to determine, or
Yeah, I sent it out today and I, included it in the meeting. I sent out a new meeting packet. I don't know. I mean, if you want to wait till next month, that's up to you.
well, I think the last thing I heard back from the consultant GZA was that her statement was that if the town entities, which is the DPW and the emergency management director, are satisfied with this revisions, the clarifications reflect our conversation. And then she went on to ask, my understanding the town wanted to put together a formal request. I haven't done that yet. I still need to compile a memo letter for the commissioner's consideration. So we have to wait to hear back from.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, sure. Let's wait till next month.
Okay. And if anybody wants to know the details, I think it's Amy has sent it to you of what I've suggested for changes. But well, just in the red. I kept it to like half a dozen or less. Okay. Okay, that's the update there. General discussions, the next item, site visits completed in March. I don't think I had any. Looking at my calendar, Tim, you did a couple. Do you want to address that?
Yeah, the two emergency certs, I guess we already talked about, which, and then I've just been periodically checking back in on the Deerfield Academy tennis court that they're supposed to get their erosion controls back in line with their conditions that they received on that. And then also the rubber pellets that were plowed down into the wetlands area down there, and Pete requested that they be power swept out. They had done that as of last week. When I visited the site, they had not corrected the erosion controls. I think that's.
And you'll be following up?
Yes, I'll be following up. I'll go by tomorrow, I think, and follow up on that.
Okay.
I think that's it for site visits.
Okay, and I did jump over one other item under other business, which was One Community Place NOI number 142-0228 compliance. This was relative to the Treehouse Brewing Company. I sent out an email to Treehouse yesterday or today. I guess it was today. regarding the educational signage, and for Josh's background and Tim's. This was a NOI that was established in 2022, I believe. So they're beyond their 3-year period to come back to request a certificate of completion.
Actually, because of an act of the state, they
Oh, that's
been
right.
extended for 2 years. We
Okay.
haven't told them that, but we, you know.
Yeah, that's right. I figured the governor gave that extension. But anyway, it started in 2022. Part of the agreement and part of the conditions of the NOI was that Treehouse was going to work with a subcommittee of the Conservation Commission, which included the subcommittee included Sean Libby, Kate Devlin, and my wife, Gretchen Law, to work up the tone and the content and such of conservation signage that they had said they would be willing to do at their expense around the property. And it was like 6 or 8. And we wanted to point out this is a wetland or this is a replication area, to public education, which I really would like to push more and more from the Conservation Commission. And so they agreed to that. It became part of the conditions, which was, I don't have it with me, but special condition number 4, that they would work with the town to complete that signage. And it seemed to have got lost in the shuffle. There was a lot of work done by Sean and Kate and my wife, Gretchen, to work with a former representative there to do the content, to editorialize and put things together, including pictures and so forth. And then it hasn't moved forward a lot. And Sean or Kate, jump in because you're more familiar with it than I am.
The original contact that worked with us from the beginning at Treehouse has moved on.
Mhm.
So there may be an issue. I mean, it had slowed down anyhow, but there is probably an issue with, we haven't even met the new person that works with their, I think, marketing and art department. But
Told somebody.
yes, I've seen it in the emails, but she's new to us and it sounded like she had started the contact process and then again, crickets. So I don't know where we're, right? I mean, we can only keep picking up the ball so many times. I feel like we've done our share until we hear back from them that we need to do something different. But we've
Yeah.
given them like 4 or 5 different signs to work with. So.
Yeah, I think I wrote to him today. We agreed to 6 to 8 different signs. We haven't heard back, and that those educational signage, which was in that 142.0228, were different than the wetland signs that were required around the replication area, which Tim looked at last week. They put in new ones, and they're fine. But I think they're getting confused that they have met that requirement by putting in the wetland sign, which is different. But they probably will be forthcoming to us to request a certificate of completion. And we just have to, as I told them today, we have to look at all the order conditions and make sure all the order conditions were met before we could look at signing off the certificate. So Amy, you have
Yeah, I
comment?
was just going to ask Sean and Kate if you guys might have any notes about what you agreed on or the content of the signs that, I can put in the record. I don't think I have anything on that. It would just be nice to have, when I send it to them and say, this is what was agreed on.
We do have a Google Drive that has our work.
Yeah.
I don't have access to that anymore because of the state. Got rid of my Google Drive access. So until I get a private computer, I don't have Google Drive anymore. But we could get you the slide work. And, other than that, I have notes from prepping those slides and our dates of meetings. But
Yeah, like in our last meeting, it was a verbal agreement that we would send them drafts on the slides and then they would have their design team, put their spin on it. and then feed it back to us. And so that's why I didn't spend a lot of time on the design of the slide. I just tried to include what kind of text should be there and gave some options. And
complete.
then the only comment that came back to me was cut your text more. But that was the only
It
comment
was
I
already
saw.
cut, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was
They were
already
requesting
cut
something from the
down.
design.
So I think,
Yeah.
Amy, what I'll do is request to Sean and Kate to send the files that they have, any emails, and I will do the same with Gretchen to send you all the files so they're all in one place.
We did,
I think Kate can do that for all of us, can't you?
I can do that. I should have access to the Google Drive still
It won't
and
take.
be able
You
to
have
do
all
that.
the emails and stuff, Kate, too?
I don't know.
I should.
Yeah, okay.
we did receive a response from them this afternoon. I'm not sure if you all had seen that. Would you like me to read that email, Pete? We got a response from them at 2:36 PM.
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't print it. I'm sorry.
It's, I'm happy to read it. It's, I am adding the SVE team who was on the project initially and with whom we are now working to complete it, along with my colleague Sarah Morin. This was from Nicole Regan, by the way. Unfortunately, this product predates my time with Treehouse, so I've been trying to close this out because it came up in the early phases of another project I'm involved with now for Treehouse. To my knowledge, the signs that were just installed satisfy the conditions of this project, and the 6 or so months you've noted as inconclusive response from Treehouse is inaccurate. We sourced these signs, then waited for the harsh winter cold to thaw before we could correctly install them at the appropriate depth. Cheers, Nicole Regan.
So is she talking about the wetland replication sign?
Yes, I think they,
Yeah.
they want to consider those to satisfy the requirements. So I think we need to clarify that with them so it's not communicating past.
And that's why if we have all these emails and Google Docs and stuff.
So I got the impression from the time that we made the motion to approve the original work that they thought of the educational signage as like voluntary, nice guy, they'll do it, but it's
Yep.
not like part of their work project. And I knew that you thought of it as part of their
It-
required work product. So I think that just needs to be reiterated.
It
Because
is,
it's clear that they're misunderstanding. I think they're thinking of this as just the kindness of their heart when they have the time, and that's why it's been able to be dragged out.
I think actually, Tim, I was going to ask you this too, and I just remembered, thank you. Because within special condition number 4, I should have brought it with me, but it states that the applicant will work with the town to develop educational conservation signage. Not more detail on that, but Tim, if you could look at, it's 1420228 NOI. There's probably an earlier NOI, or there may be additional phases to it. And if you look, I think what I'd ask you to do is double check on their initial submission of the NOI. They probably put in there their engineer, which might have been Ty and Bond at that point, or it might have been SVE, but they probably put in there that signage would be put up around the replication area. That is part of the initial approval. It's not one of the additional orders of condition. So that's what the two different things are. So we need to look back into the documents to see if that wetlands signage is part of what they submitted, and the educational signage is part of what we required as an order of conditions. So this is an order of conditions, it's a requirement.
Yeah, Amy and I will work together on that.
Okay. So we can't sign off on that one until everything's met to our, satisfaction, and we'll have to review it again. So just a confusion, I think, with new people, but there's a lot of information back and forth over the last 3 years that we have that we'll get to Amy. Okay. Sorry, I jumped over that. There's no additional public comment on tonight. The mail, I addressed the one piece of mail that we received from Tim Hilchey earlier on the Mass DOT project. Any other mail, Amy? No. Any other items unanticipated?
I just had one more site visit.
Yeah.
I did walk the upstream portion of the,
Cross street.
yeah, the Cross Street Eastern Ave, channel. And that was on request from, Mark Stenson.
Yeah. Yeah, Tim was very helpful when I was gone to take care of some of the concerns that were brought up on our cross street discussion from 2 weeks ago, I guess. Right?
Did you get the sense that was a neighbor request to DEP that sent you out to look
Yeah,
at that?
I can fill you in. So the neighbors have been writing to the building department
Okay.
and to the Concom.
Yeah,
They are in a panic and I have told
I
them that
empathize with them.
Yeah.
This isn't going to improve their water conditions, but I
there's
don't see
nothing
how
they
we
can do
change
with
it,
it.
right?
Yeah, no, this stormwater doesn't, this doesn't trigger stormwater. Now they have talked to Bob, but I have told them that it is out of the Concom jurisdiction. And there's nothing to be done here.
Nothing to be done, but I think the outcome's good. It's gonna put up erosion control and per our conditions and yeah.
Yeah, the
But appreciate it,
concern
Tim.
is annually and forever. Anyone who has a wet basement and half of that is Deerfield, then can understand what they're worried about. So I empathize with them, I do, but read it.
So we-
Some pump myself. Yeah.
We have a house that's in the path of an underground stream and it's just like, that's the nature of the beast and that's their problem. They are in the path of the water draining off the mountain and I'm sorry, that's the house you bought, tough.
The wetland long before anybody decided to move there.
We do have the benefit of the delineation performed by GZA for that. So I think that works for the next X number of years that delineations last for. And then after that, any other applicants may need to have another delineation done. So.
Yeah, we can probably rely on that another 2 or 3 years. Yeah. Okay. One other thing you talked about the DA North tennis courts and you'll follow up with them on that. Just copy me on all of that. The other thing I did have a public contact me questioning the work being done by the Cheslick Farm stand up on Route or Greenfield Road 5 and 10. I drove by it quickly today and just looked out the side mirror and yeah, they are extending part of their area there. Could be in wetland, the whole area is, but Tim, would you take a look at doing an inspection on that tomorrow and get back to the commission on that?
Yes, I can do that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. I don't think there was anything else that came up in the last 48 hours. The farm stand kind of across from DA, Eagle Brook area, yeah. Or the Met area, that one up there. Yeah. Anything else from the commissioners? No. Our upcoming meeting is incorrect in the meeting package because 4/23 was a few days ago. So the next one will be May 28th, 2026. I think I got that right. Other than that, we can take a motion to adjourn for this evening.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:24.
Kate Devlin, I'll second.
All right, motion on the table to adjourn. Take a quick roll call to do so. Sean Libby,
Sean Libby, aye.
Kate Devlin,
Kate Devlin, aye.
Josh Reynolds,
Josh Reynolds, aye.
Pete Law, aye. And that's a wrap.